we're going to talk a little bit about disassembly of your flute and the care of your instrument, how to maintenance your instrument once you have been playing, or run weekly maintenance checks on. We do ours here at Folks on Mondays. We call it Maintenance Mondays. So right now I've got my flute. Let's say I've just finished playing, so I've got the entire instrument put together. And so when you're disassembling, first of all, remember again, when you're grabbing the instrument, try not to grab it by keys or rods. Find those places like the barrel up here and the end of the foot joint where there are not keys, and we're going to use a gentle twisting motion. Make sure that you're grabbing onto the body here and not the head joint. Gentle twisting motion, and that piece will slide off. Try not to flick it off, okay, because we don't want to accidentally bend the tenon. But right now we're gonna talk about just the foot joint and the cleaning of it and the care of it. So first of all, I start with the foot joint because when we've been playing, that's the least wet part of the instrument. As your air moves through the instrument, the least amount of air reaches your foot joint and condenses, so it's probably going to be the least damp. And so I like to work from least wet towards the wettest. That way my rag doesn't start out soaking wet and I just drag all that moisture through my instrument. So the first thing we want to do is we want to swab the foot joint. So we take our swab and we're going to dangle that weighted end through the foot joint, and we're going to gently pull that through nice and slow so that any moisture is pulled out onto our silk swab. Okay, and then we can take our polished cloth and we can give the outside of the instrument a nice gentle rub down, get rid of any grime or stickies or anything from your fingers that you might have transferred to the instrument. I will say, do not ever, never ever use any kind of liquid or gel or any kind of flute polish, or not flute polish, don't use silver polish on the instrument. Ever, never ever do that. Always polish cloth, or even a soft rag. You can use something like a handkerchief. Don't use things like Kleenex or paper towel because they're going to leave like little fuzzies on your instrument that could eventually cause the instrument to kind of seize up because they get trapped in all the little nooks and crannies. So try not to use anything like toilet paper or any of those kind of paper products, but a soft cloth rag will work. A terry dish towel, if you don't have other things, would work to kind of just wipe off the exterior of the instrument. But you can get a flute polish cloth at any music store. Okay, and so we've swabbed out the foot joint. We've polished the exterior. We want to make sure on Mondays that we check the screws. The screws should be flush with the end of that little ball at the end of the rod. Okay, if they're starting to stick out, you might want to bring that to your director's attention. Okay, and then lastly, we just make sure that there's no flippy floppy keys. So these keys should be up right now. These holes should be open. If a key, one of those keys is flopped down on the foot joint and it's like stuck like this, then chances are you've got a spring pop. Then we just need to figure out which one and get it back into its little catch underneath the rod. Okay, and then this key right here should be closed. Okay, that one right there, turn it around so y'all can see. That key right there that's kind of by itself, that one should be closed. If it's not closed or if it's flippy floppy, again, we've got a spring that's out. Okay, I'm going to set that down in my case. By the way, my case is on the floor. And now we're going to talk about the body. So again, I'm going to go up. Now I'm going to grasp the head joint and the barrel of the body, and I'm going to gently twist. And those should come apart. Again, don't use a hard flicking motion. We might damage the tenon when that happens. Another thing I will bring to your attention too that you're not really seeing, but when you're sitting forward on your chair, that opens up the back of your chair, and you can set your instrument behind where you're seated on your chair, on the empty part of the chair, to keep it from rolling off your lap and onto the floor while you're taking care of it. I have our students here at Folks train basically anytime that they're not actually playing their flute. Let's say I'm doing some sort of other exercise with them or something, and they're seated on the edge of their chair. Their flute is across the back of their chair, so that way it can't possibly roll onto the floor. So I always tell them, secure your flutes. And so if you hear me say secure your flute, that's what I mean. Put it behind you on your chair. Just don't forget it's back there and scoot back or sit on it. That would not be good, okay? But that's a great place to keep it, so while you're maintaining the rest of your instrument, it's not going to roll onto the floor. So now we've got the body of the flute, and we're going to start by swabbing it. And so I'm going to get my silk swab back out, and I'm going to dangle that down in there all the way through. And again, I'm going to pull this through gently, and if I feel any resistance, I'm going to stop pulling. I'm going to go up here and pull it the other direction back out. If you feel something getting caught or stuck, don't force it. Don't pull harder, because we don't want to get it jammed or stuck, but it should slide through nice and effortlessly. Okay? And you probably will want to do that a couple times to pull all the moisture out of the instrument. Once may not be enough. Okay? And again, you can run the polish cloth along the exterior of the instrument gently. Okay? Keep a watch out for this key. Don't let that polish cloth snag and bend this key, okay, on accident. And again, at the ends of all of your rods, those screws right here where my finger's touching, where that little round ball is, should be flush with the end of the rod. If you start to see a screw sticking out, then let your director know, okay? You've got another one right back here on this side where your thumb key is. That screw right there should be flush, okay? So I'm going to polish that. I'm going to check my screws. And as far as keys go, most all these keys should be in the up position right now, okay? All of these along here should be up. If they're not, if they're flippy floppy, then you've got a spring out. On the back side, your thumb key, this one right here, should be up, okay? See how it's up and open, okay? If it's not, or if it's flippy floppy, then we need to find the spring that's out and fix, okay? Now, there are some keys on here that should be closed. This key right here, next to your thumb key, that one should be closed, okay? And down here on this end, these two little guys should be shut, okay? If they're not, or if they're flippy floppy, we've got a spring that's out underneath one of the rods, and we need to find it, okay? I put this back in my case. And finally, last but not least, we get to the head joint that has been sitting behind me on my chair. Grab my head joint. I'm going to drape my silk cloth over my tuning rod. Stick that inside the head joint. Give it a few twists. Back it out. And because this is the wettest part of your instrument, you probably need to relocate that on your tuning rod or on your silk rag. Find a dry spot and do it a second time, or even a third time until you get all the moisture out of that head joint, okay? And that, once we polish that and get the exterior clean, can go back in your case and you are done.